in my own hometown. Stranger.
Howdy folks, Little John here again. We're back in the kitchen, and today we are throwing together a quick kit beer. We discussed this in the what's happening in October. This is a beer I'm throwing together for my father-in-law. This is a brew I used to do back when I first started, when I restarted brewing, a few years back. It was a beer he used to enjoy, so I'm probably going to throw another batch of it together for him. As explained on the previous videos, he finds the all grain brews a little bit too hoppy and strong, and he prefers something a little bit more basic, so this is what I'm doing. So, Coopers Draught can, 800 grams of light dry malt. I've got all over here, malt. There'll be 300 grams of dextrose. I'll be steeping 15 grams of cluster, and as discussed in the video, I'm going to split this into two batches of 12 litres each. One will get a USA 5 dry, and the other will get a rehydrated USA 5. I've got 100 mils of cooled boiled water there, so we'll get that rehydration underway first off. Get it happening. So 10 times the yeast weight in water for a rehydration. So that's 100 mils of water with your 100 grams of yeast, and we'll just let him sit there while we're doing the rest of the stuff. Quickly just throw a quick foil lid over the top of him. Okay, so next thing we're doing is we're getting some hops ready. I've got 1 litre of water with about 70 grams of light dry malt in there. So I've brought that to a boil, let it boil for about a minute, and then I've turned it off. And to that I'll be adding 15 grams of cluster. American cluster, fairly common hop used in Australian beer. It's fairly popular for little lagers and stuff. 4X apparently uses it as their flavour hop, so I'm just going to let that sit there and just steep away while I throw the rest of the brew together. I'm not really worried about how long it's going to take. It's not boiling, it's going to slowly cool down as we're going. 10 minutes is about the mark I'd be looking for, and I think we should get that without too much trouble. So, got me big fermenter, cleaned, sanitised as everything always is. It's not bloody hanging off me here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to batch up in here up to 24 litres, and then once it's all mixed together, I will split that into 2 smaller fermenters. 2 of these fellas, little 15 litre ones. They fit nicely into my ferment fridge, so that'll make me pretty happy. And as I said, one of those will get the dry yeast pitched directly onto it, and the other will get the rehydrated. So you pop the lid on there. There's a spoon in there somewhere. Alright, so in with the extract. Yep. So into that tin, that tin's been sitting in hot water while I was getting everything organised. Now we just fill that tin up with boiled water. Help us get rid of the rest of that out of there. And as previously, make sure you put a tea towel or the old kitchen glove or something, because that tin will get very hot once you've got that boiling water in there. So we'll start mixing that. Now, I've got 6 bottles of water. That's about 7.5 litres. Had this in the fridge for a couple of days, so this is nice and cold. And I'm going to start throwing that in there. So this is to help get the brew down temperature wise, so I can get down a bit closer to our pitching temp. Before we get too cool in there, we'll get our sugars in. So that's 400 of malt. And as I discussed before, giving this a good mix as you go helps to make sure you've got plenty of aeration. So another 400 of the light malt. So what I'm looking at with this brew is we're looking for an original gravity for around 1039. Should finish it somewhere around 1008, which will give us somewhere around 4.3% alcohol in the bottle. 4.2, 4.3, just depends on how our attenuation goes. So nothing too strong. And again, the father-in-law, it's also one of his problems with the oil grain. He complains that sometimes it's a little bit too strong for him. He's not a young man anymore. He knocks him around a little bit more than he used to. So 4.2, 4.3, he's going to be able to drink a little bit easier. So 300 grams of Dex, in she goes. That's not too bad. Okay, and keep getting the bottles in. Okay, so we've topped our water up to 23 litres, and just going to give this yeast a little bit of a stir. It's starting to look good, starting to do its thing. I'll leave that a little bit longer. Okay, so now I'm going to put in that last litre, I said, which is the malt and hop mix, and that goes. Lovely. Lost my spoon. So that's pretty much ready now to transfer over to the other two fermenters. And before I do that, we'll just get a quick hydro reading on this. Now, this is a tip for anyone who's doing kits. When you're mixing up, you tend to get unmixed extract stuck in your tap. It goes in there when it's thick and doesn't really mix up. So always take a little bit off. You can see there's a lot of bits and pieces in there. So get rid of that, because that's going to give you a funky reading. You see people on forums and on Facebook and stuff, they're going, I made up me brew and I only used a tin and a kilo of sugar or a PE1 or whatever. I've got a gravity reading of 1065 or 1084, something crazy. Yeah, and they think they've made themselves an incredibly strong beer for, without trying. When simply all they've done is they haven't taken that extra malt out of there and they've got a very sugary mix. And that looks like it's sitting, there's a little bit of bubbles there, but that's sitting around that 1040 mark, 1039, 1040, which is exactly where we expected it to be. So amazingly, those online calculators and stuff like that work. Now, just go around. I use spreadsheet. I got it from AussieHomebrewer.com. It's a forum based here in Australia. Ian's, I think it's Ian H's, or Ian's kit and extract spreadsheet. If you haven't got it and you're doing kits, get in there and get it. It is a brilliant bit of gear. It's easy to use and it's very accurate. You can play around with your mixers and it will tell you what to expect. Good for adding hops and malts and stuff like that. Worth getting into. Okay, so I'm going to transfer this now and we'll come back and have a look at it once we're getting into doing the yeast. Okay, so we've done our transfer. So I just dropped these, sat these on a chair. So we had about a foot and a half drop from the big fermenter into the little one. So it's giving it a good stir up. What they like to refer to in Pommyland as a double drop to some degree. Normally done at 24 hours, but it's the same sort of thing. So I'm pretty happy that these have both got a good whack of oxygen in them. So what I'm going to do now is pitch some yeast. So first one up is our dry yeast. As I said, just a single packet of USO5 and just straight on top. And all around. Okay, like so. And the other one, we'll get this hydrated USO5 and it's come up quite nicely. It's nice and creamy. That's what we're after. And pitch that straight in. Beautiful. So that's it. Both done. That yeast smells good. Smells like beer and beery stuff, which is exactly what we're after. So I'll let that dry one sit for a few more minutes, then I'll give it a stir. Just let that yeast wet up a little bit. We'll pop our lids on. Our airlock, which I will not. Actually, no, we can go. It's ready to go. So, sanitizer in the airlock. It's another good hint. Some people use vodka. That's yeast sanitizer, just in case you get a little bit of suck back into your brewing ending stage. Now I'm not going to seal that up completely because I don't want to have that splashing about, doing anything silly, sucking air in there while I'm carrying it. Okay, so that yeast is starting to hydrate there a little bit. It's wetting up. And we'll give it a stir in. So the theory is that putting the dry yeast into that large quantity is different somehow to hydrating it with just a little bit of water. The theory by my understanding is because there's already sugar there, it interferes with the wetting and swelling of the cell walls, which causes death more so than it does rehydrating just in some warm water. That rehydration was done with room temperature water. Again, trying to avoid shocking the yeast by having too much temperature difference from one to the other. Righto. So they're done. So I'm going to go put these in the fridge. I'm going to brew these at 16 degrees because I want it to be relatively clean. I'm not looking for anything fruity, being a nice plain lager. I don't want to push any estery, fruity flavours, so I'm going to keep it down around that 16 mark. And that's it. We'll brew that for about 2 weeks, block them up. And so in about 6 weeks' time, be able to compare a couple of bottles that I'll keep that the father-in-law won't get, and see if we can tell a difference between the dry and the rehydrated yeast pitch. So that's me for the day. Hit the subscribe button down the bottom there. Ask questions, put comments down there if you want to. And till I'm looking at you again and playing with beer and whatnot, good brewing.